Hey guys, it's Kevin guys ready for the season of Orange is the New Black. Yes, I finally finished season 3, and yeah, so now I can finally review it, and holy shit is there a lot to talk about. This is going to be a very long video, guys, because there's a lot to get through, and I was definitely looking forward to the season after season 2. I absolutely loved season 2. I thought it was a great way to close the season. I was really looking forward to seeing what this season would be. And overall, guys, what did I think of Season 3? Season 3 was not the best season. It was definitely different from Season 2. Very different, but there were some very great things about the season. There were some very bad things about the season. But I do have to say that I cannot wait for next season, because the season finale of this season is the best finale they've ever done. I'm going to get to that. But I do want to get to this season as a whole. Again, there are some things that I liked. There are some things I didn't like. And, let me get into that. So this season is something you need to go into knowing this season, that this is a much more character-driven season. It's much more of a transitional season, a much more of a character-driven season, and it's kind of like the calm before all the chaos starts. There is chaos this season, but there's not a V this season. There's not a Pensatucky this season. Well, there is a Pensatucky, but they've redeemed her, and I'll talk about that. We start off this season, though, not in the best way, in my opinion. I actually don't really like the way this season starts out. It sets up some plots nicely, but I have to say that the beginning of the season was extremely slow and not very interesting. We start off with, basically, now that Fig is gone, and Caputo is basically, running the prison basically by himself. We now have, it's basically they're doing a Mother's Day celebration, and we start off that way, and we get to know a lot of the characters, children, things like that. And while it was an interesting setup, the way they did it, I really didn't enjoy it. I thought it was kind of pointless. It did introduce some really interesting stories that I will get into. But I will say, after that episode, the season really, I'd say probably to episode 3, that's when the season really started to pick up for me. There were some storylines I did like that they introduced, but again, for everything I liked, there was stuff I didn't like. Let's get into the main story arcs of this season. The main storyline of this season has to basically do with this thing called the MCC, which I'm definitely going to get into, and their whole arc, I think, is definitely very interesting. Let me turn on the light, because it's dark in here. Um, Basically, the MCC, they are this group against well, not really against Litchfield, but they basically want to take over Litchfield. What ends up happening is Caputo finds out in episode 2 that funding is not really working for Litchfield, and unfortunately Litchfield's going to have to close down. Well, Caputo, obviously, he's not going to take no for an answer. He's a man that's constantly working hard. He's going to do whatever, he's working like this is a man that's like working for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's pretty insane how he does that. But he wants to do whatever he can to make sure that this prison doesn't get closed. And in order for him to do that, he realizes that there's this group called the MCC, run by this guy, Danny Pearson, who basically wants to completely take over Litchfield, redo everything, and basically he's forced to do that. He has no choice but to let them take over, because if he didn't, Litchfield would close down entirely, so he basically has to team up with them. However, you can tell that the MCC is very different than Litchfield. The MCC is a lot more stronger with Litchfield. They're a lot tougher. Their guards are not very good, and they try to do whatever they can to get rid of the MCC. They try to, and you start to realize, though, that you really can't get rid of the MCC, and the thing I liked about this season, though, is that the villain this season is not really a person. There's no V, as I said. There's really not. The villain this season is more of just life. That's the villain, is that there's no way Caputo can let this not happen, and there's nothing really he can do about it. Danny Pearson, though, however, is really the big threat of this season. But he's not a threat in the sense that he's a bad guy. He's not a bad guy. He's basically told what to do by his very manipulative father, who basically makes him do all of this, makes him run the place. Danny doesn't really want to do any of this, and he basically listens to his father because he's scared of him, and No one's willing to take him down. No one's willing to say, hey, don't listen to him until probably like the end of the season, which I will definitely get into. But that I thought was definitely very interesting the way they handled all that with Danny being this very powerful substance. And you just see Caputo going through the whole season trying to change things. And I'll get to what ends up happening at the end of the season. But that's like our main story arc is what's going on with the MCC. Because everything else basically drives around that. Because when the MCC takes over, they also open this thing called Whispers, and Whispers is this business for the prisoners to work on, so they have something to do rather than just sit around and cause trouble, which I thought was good that they did that. However, this gets pretty crazy. And then we get into what is my main problem with the season, which is something I like to call, basically, I love everything this season except for A, P, and S. And A, P, and S stands for Alex, Piper, and Stella Love Triangle. I mean, oh my god. I can't stand their characters anymore. I'm gonna be honest. Piper and Alex are the most boring thing. We start off this season, Alex is back, and this could have been really interesting to see what would have happened with Alex returning. I mean, she obviously wasn't in last season, but because she wasn't in last season, it just felt kind of like, oh, Alex is back. Yay, like, it just felt weird because she wasn't there last season, now all of a sudden she's back, and they try to give them something to do. The first half of the season, though, basically they're just against each other because Alex is pissed at Piper. Now, it's understandable why they're pissed at each other. Piper's upset because Alex has just returned and not told her, but Alex is pissed because Piper basically made her get back into prison, and basically they're pissed at each other and they don't really know where to go. And then they eventually do get back together in episode 3. When there's like this improv group basically that they are involved in, which I really like that storyline with the improv group. That's something I actually really did like that they did this season. But because of this happening, they basically stay together for the majority of the season, but they make their storyline extremely uninteresting, probably as uninteresting as possible, because then we introduce Stella, who Stella was a character that for me was just in the wrong storyline. She's a good character. I like the character of Stella. She's a complete opposite of Alex. She's not tough. I mean, the whole season, Alex is terrified. She is terrified that Kubra's going to come after her. She's terrified that something's going to happen and that basically she's in the prison and that something bad's going to happen to her. She's absolutely terrified of what's going to happen. She's paranoid. And that's understandable when you're basically, if you remember last season, she was terrified whenever someone just knocked at the door. Well, now she's in prison and she's still terrified. So it's pretty annoying, I do have to say. I thought it was pretty annoying how the whole storyline just was, revolved around that. And then we get to the character of Stella, who, again, I really do feel like she was just in the wrong storyline. I liked her character overall. I liked her connection with Piper. I liked how they got closer. I liked how she cared about her. I liked how she tried to actually help her out, be there for her. But the whole love triangle was just so stupid because all Stella does, while I like her character, it seemed like they're trying to make us think Stella's better for Piper than Alex, but then all Stella does is make Piper this controlled force because basically they go into this panty business, which is completely ridiculous. They go into this panty business, basically, which was kind of funny. I enjoyed seeing this plot overall, but it makes Piper so powerful and so annoying. I couldn't stand Piper for most of this season. Most of this season, Piper's just yelling at people and basically just telling them what to do, and it's really fucking annoying, I have to say. Again, I like Stella as a character, but I just felt she was in the wrong storyline. A lot of people say, oh, Ruby Rose is a great actress. I know she's a great actress, okay? I know that. And there's so many girls from my school who are, like, obsessed with Ruby Rose. And it's not that Ruby Rose is bad. She's actually pretty good in this season. I like her character. I just felt she was in the wrong storyline because she made the storyline a lot more annoying. And it's not so much her fault, it's just I can't stand Piper, honestly. I want Piper and Alex to get killed off. I don't think... Yes, we came into this show with Piper. We don't need to revolve the whole show around Piper anymore, honestly. I think that was one of my biggest problems this season is everything they did with Piper and Alex was so boring. It was boring, okay? I'd skip that storyline because of how bored I was. And Piper becomes a bitch toward the end of the season. And she becomes racist as well. I mean, we all know that group of, like, Mexican, like, Flocka and all of them, who they actually get stuff to do this season, but she ends up, like, yelling at her, and she doesn't realize that she actually is poor. And then Alex, here's the thing, though. Even though they try to make Stella look like the good girl and everything, the better girl for Piper, Alex does have some good points. She doesn't like what Piper's doing. She doesn't like how powerful she's becoming. And that's something I thought was very well done. I definitely really did enjoy that. My biggest problem, though, is this character of Lolly. Oh my god, was she annoying. Oh my god. She is this new character that's introduced, and it seemed like the writers just wanted every single character to revolve around Piper and Alex, every new character they had to do that with, which really sucks because something I loved about last season that a lot of the new characters didn't do that. A lot of the new characters helped out the other inmates. Now, there are other storylines I am going to get into that are a lot better than this. And if this is seeming repetitive, well, it is because it's ridiculous. She basically, again, thinks that Lolly is after her. And again, I understand you can't really trust all inmates because of V and things like that, but here's the thing, Alex wasn't even involved with that, and she's terrified that V is this person that Kubra has sent out to kill her, and it seems like she is, but then we realize, oh no, she's just crazy. She basically thinks that there are, like, terrorists and all this shit. It's really dumb, and after they did that twist, I was just done with her character, and I never got into her character. I never liked Lolly as a character. I always thought she was annoying. Everything she says is annoying, and I can't stand her as a character. I'm gonna be honest. I can't stand Lolly as a character. I really couldn't. So Lolly for me was a character I never latched onto. I probably never will, and there's nothing they can do to get me to like her as a character. She was so fucking annoying, and I hated her. So other than that plot, I actually really enjoyed this season. Other than Piper and Alex, I actually really enjoyed what they did this season. I thought there was some really good stuff. However, I will say there isn't actually a lot of storyline this season. There's more of just characters in this season. They expand a lot more on the characters, which I really love. For example, they actually give Suzanne a good storyline this season because Suzanne is probably in the most awkward position of any of the inmates because she, of course, worshipped V. Like, when I say worshipped her. She did whatever she could to stick by V, and if someone badmouths her, she gets all pissed at them. She's trying to move on from V, and her storyline I thought was pretty incredible because she basically is isolating herself. She doesn't let anyone badmouth her, and Tasty and Pussy are trying to convince her that, V wasn't the best person, and eventually they realize that V's dead, and there's this amazing scene where Tasty has to go to Suzanne and tell her that V's dead and tell her that she knows how hard it is for her, and it's this incredible scene. I love how much closer those three got, Pussy, Tasty, and Suzanne. I absolutely love that. But Suzanne writing that romantic sex novel seemed like a dumb idea. But what I like about this is that we realize that she's actually not crazy. We start to see this here. They did a lot less of Crazy Eyes and a lot more of Suzanne, which is why I can't call her Crazy Eyes anymore because she's not crazy. In fact, they stopped calling her Crazy Eyes this season, which I personally really love. They start to realize that she's not crazy. She's a very gifted writer. She likes doing this, and it starts to spark the interest of people. I will say it was pretty funny to see all those girls like worship her book. It was pretty hilarious in how they start writing fan fiction. I definitely really enjoyed that, but I really love this arc with Suzanne because it made us like her more as a character, made me care about her more as a character, and overall just made her, I think, a much better character than she already was. So I really love what they did with Suzanne this season. I thought that was really great. Another character they do something fantastic with this season. Now, I will say another problem I have with this season is they would suddenly just get rid of storylines. They suddenly just drop things. And maybe it was because they had way too much going on last season and they had too much to conclude that they just had to end things. For example, Bennett. The storyline between Daya and Bennett really didn't work, honestly. The whole thing with Bennett, after he tells Caputo that he is the father of Daya's child and not, you know, porn stash, basically, He basically doesn't know what else to do. He thinks he's gonna get fired. He decides to just run away, and we don't see Bennett for the rest of the season. He has this flashback. It was boring as hell, I have to say. His flashback episode was so boring, and I didn't like it at all. But he basically just runs away, and Daya's left on her own for most of the season, which I really did love, and I will get into Daya's plot arc, which actually does get very interesting. But Bennett leaving, I thought was actually a good thing for the show. It was kind of like a blessing in disguise. At the time, I didn't like it, but then when he left, I'm like, you know what? Now Daya has a story that doesn't revolve around her and Bennett's relationship. My problem with their relationship always was that you never really knew if Bennett was a good guy for Daya or not, if they could actually be together. And that's something I thought was really great about their storyline. I'm happy that it did end. Nicky also, Nicky gets really involved with drugs, and as we know, it seemed like she was getting clean. What they do with Nicky this season, I thought was pretty incredible, because as we know, it seemed like Nicky was getting clean. It seems like things were working out for her, but we realize that she's using again. She's using again, she's going on drugs, she's taking heroin. Ever since she found that heroin that V had, she's been taking it. She's been using it, and she's been hiding it in places. And after Flocka and the other girl, I can't remember her name, but basically after Leanne and Flocka, I believe it's Leanne and Flocka, after they basically get high, Nicky, they realize that Nicky is still on drugs, and because of this, Nicky is sent to a state, basically solitary confinement, far, far away from Litchfield, and we don't see her for the rest of the season. But what they did with her, I thought was pretty incredible. The way they handled that flashback episode, it's one of my favorite episodes of the season by far. I thought they got rid of her perfectly, and I hope that we do see her again, because obviously it was very sad what happened to Nicky, but it is very realistic. I mean, once you get off of drugs, it is very hard to stay off of it, definitely, and that they really show that very well with Nicky, and I really love that, I have to say. Definitely, it was a very good storyline. And things like that, they definitely do a lot of this season. They do a lot more of deepening the characters and their flashbacks. Also, with Boo, they do a lot more with Boo this season, and especially Pensatucky. Pensatucky becomes one of the best characters of this entire show this season, honestly. What they do with her is pretty remarkable, because Pensatucky is a character that, in my opinion, has probably come the most far besides Suzanne since the beginning of the show. I mean, I remember I hated Pensatucky in season 1. She was annoying, she was, pro-religion, and she was just so annoying. I mean, she'd always have that damn cross out and basically just be pissed at Piper and be like, she'd be homophobic and things like that. And this season, she learns to overcome that. She learns to just have fun with her life and enjoy herself. And again, remember last season, she just realized that that stuff didn't really matter. It didn't. It didn't matter what religion she was. It didn't matter who she is. She just tries to enjoy herself this season. And because of this, her and Boo end up getting a lot closer, which I really did like, I have to say. The friendship between those two is pretty fantastic. However, we then find out a lot more about Pensatucky, because she takes over for Morello, of course, because after Morello and that whole situation with Rosa, after Rosa left, basically, Morello was fired from her job driving the whatever you call, the thing that basically takes inmates away from their job, away from being in the prison, whatever you call it, the prison van. That's what I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it the prison van. Pensatucky's now in charge of that, and she ends up forming this bond with Charlie, I think his name is. I'm just gonna call him Coates, because that's his last name, Coates. They start to get very close, and it seems like he actually does care about her, but you definitely see it, there's something going on with him. And one of my favorite episodes by far has to be Pensatucky's backstory, because we learn that she basically was forced to prostitute herself when she was younger, and all these guys came after her. They raped her. She did nothing about it, but there was nothing she could do. She had to prostitute herself because she needed money, and there was nothing she could do. And years later, basically, we realize that he is making a pass at her. He basically forces her to have sex with him. She ends up getting horribly raped, and there's an incredible scene where her and Boo have this conversation, basically. She has to tell Boo what happened, and just the way that Boo reacts is pretty fantastic. And you see how protective Boo is of people. You especially see that in Boo's flashback, because You see that Boo, when she was younger, she was pretty much, and what I like with Boo that they did this season is they made a lot of the more humorous characters a lot more vulnerable and a lot more dramatic, which I really did like, I have to say. I thought that was definitely very well handled. Because basically, we realized that Boo was pretty much hated by her mother. She didn't like that Boo wanted to wear guys' clothes, and it's kind of like the Allison Bechdel story, but reversed in that her mother didn't care, but her mother didn't like it, but her father was like, you know what, just do it for your mother. But her father eventually shamed her, and she was really pissed off. And you see how important that is to Boo, how important lesbians are, how much she will just go out on you, and it really shows that while Boo's this really funny character and she can be really sweet, she also gets really tough, and she's very protective of people, and that's something I really love, is seeing how protective she is, because once she finds out that Pensatucky was raped, she wants to basically kill Coates, and it's pretty fantastic what they end up doing. I will get to that in the finale, but that was fantastic. I really did love that storyline. Another storyline I love was with Brooke Sozo, aka Sozo as people call her. I call her Brooke, but other people call her Sozo. I will admit, she was a little bit annoying last season. She was. They didn't really have much to do with her. She did the whole hunger strike, didn't really work out, and she's basically trying to find her place this season. After the events of last season and everything, and the whole hunger strike, people really aren't talking to her, and you start to see a much more vulnerable side of Brooke, and it really starts to come when Meadow visits her, her friend, and it gives us one of the best scenes I think we have ever gotten in this show from an inmate. I absolutely loved this scene. One of my favorite scenes of the season by far. One of my favorite scenes of this show by far. Basically, Brooke's former friend Meadow, who you can tell was very much like Brooke. She's very chatty. She's very annoying. She doesn't really care about many things. She tries to make everything fun. But Brooke realizes in that moment that she's in prison, and it's not fun. It's not cool. It's not something to be proud of. It's stupid. She's upset that she's there. She feels stupid. She starts to realize that she hates being there. She's not happy about it. And all this time, it's like, what all of a sudden? But it really works because Brooke is finally realizing how much she's annoyed people and how much people have just pretended to like her and how much people don't actually care about her. And that's something I thought was a very well done storyline. And this gets very serious. I mean, she tries to talk to Healy about it. Healy, I could not. Healy is a character that you just learn that is a very hateful character. I mean, we've always known that he was a bit of a racist, homophobe, but he actually seemed like he cared about the inmates. This season, oh no, he wants to do nothing to help out Brooke. He does not take the time to help her at all. He basically just tells her, oh, go figure it out yourself. I'm not going to tell you what to do. And he basically just states the obvious. He tells her, oh, no one wants to talk to her, try to be less annoying, and all he's doing is putting her down more and more to the point where she eventually tries to attempt suicide. She starts taking these Benadryl, and there's this other counselor, basically, Psychowitz, that really helps her a lot more. She runs this improv group, and it's really the only time that Brooke feels that she can really speak for herself and not have other people put her down. And it starts to get really serious because Norma forms this cult, basically, with Leanne, a bunch of people in it, and everyone in that cult starts basically making fun of Brooke. And you can see that Norma doesn't like this is happening, but she can't really tell. And I like the expansion of Norma's character as well, because we get some really good flashbacks with Norma, how she never really had a voice, and you really do see how, how her stuttering and her really not talking affected her, and I really like that, definitely. I thought her flashback episode was one of the best of the season by far. But basically, they start to realize what they're doing, Brooke. I'll get into what ends up happening in the finale, but it gets really serious with Brooke, and I really love that storyline. One of my favorites by far. I never thought they'd flesh out a character like Brooke, because she's not a main character. She's not, and I definitely see Brooke becoming a main character, but she's not a main character, and they did so much with her that you would feel she is a main character. She makes so many appearances. That's something I really do love about Brooke's character, is how many appearances she does make you think she was. And it's pretty incredible what they did with her this season, I have to say. So everything with Brooke, I absolutely loved as well. Another one of my favorite storylines has to do with Sophia and Gloria. Gloria and Sophia are pretty much at each other's throats the entire season, and that's all starts after the Mother's Day episode, because Sophia starts to realize there's a change in her son, Michael. He's acting out a lot. He's very rebellious. He doesn't really give a shit about her. And that's understandable. I mean, she's trans. He still thinks of her as a father. He doesn't think of her as who she really is. And I really loved how this storyline worked out because Gloria's son, she doesn't really give a shit about. He's cursing a lot. He's very rude. And Sophia starts to realize that she starts to think that Gloria's son is a bad influence on Michael. And they start to get into this whole conflict and eventually leads to Gloria telling Sophia that she doesn't care about her, that this is all her fault, and that she, is trans, and how her son probably is very confused, and everyone just starts to taunt her, and eventually she ends up basically being bashed, and she ends up very beaten horribly. I mean, it's really hard stuff to watch, guys, and I really love the way they fleshed out her character as well. It was pretty incredible what they did with it, and I have to say, it was really amazing what they did with her character, because she's horribly, savagely beaten, and, she's basically forced to go to SHU because they want to protect her, but the only way the MCC protect her is take her to SHU, and they want to get her out of there. And as of right now, she's still not out of there. And I thought it was pretty incredible the way they handled that whole storyline. And she tried to do whatever she could to help out her son and help out, her wife and everything, but it really wasn't working. It was very sad, and it was very sad to see her go. So I thought that was a very good storyline, though. I definitely enjoyed that. Red and Healy get a lot closer this season. You almost think they're going to start a relationship, but then you realize that Healy is just so hateful of everyone that he really couldn't love anyone. I mean, there's this scene in the finale where he goes to his wife, and you see he doesn't even really give a shit about her. He's just rude. He's just a rude, vile human being, and Red really just brings out the best in him. That really is what it comes down to, that Red really is the only thing that makes him happy and makes him not the disgusting human being that he really is. Because let's face it, Healy is a disgusting human being. He really is. He's racist. He's a bigot. He doesn't help you out. I mean, he's just really rude, honestly. And I thought it was definitely a very good storyline. And the last storyline I'm going to talk about, I know there's a lot here, guys, but, Morello's storyline is really good as well. She finds new love, basically, what is his name? I'm trying to find his name. Give me a second, guys. I'm trying to find his name. Vince, basically, they start this thing on, like, a visitation day, and they start to get really close, and actually starts to make her stop her obsession over Christopher, which I really like, and these two get close, and I definitely like that. And then Daya, as I said, Daya pretty much is alone for most of the season. She's trying to figure out what to do with her kid when her kid is born, and her and Alita start to get a lot closer, which I definitely really did like. Alita, I mean, that's something I really love about the season, is how close these two get, because Alita and Daya, I mean, Daya's pretty much hated her mother for a lot of her life. I mean, she didn't really like what Daya was doing. She wasn't very supportive of her. For the first time in years, her and Alita get so much closer, and I really love that bond, and eventually Daya does go into labor, and she decides to give her baby to Mary Steenburgen's character, and her husband, basically. But then she does confess. What I like is that she does confess to her that her baby is not porn stashes. It is Bennett's. But they still want it. She ends up giving it to them, and basically she did the best thing that she could. And we'll get to what ends up happening. But now we get into the finale, which I really, really want to talk about. There was a lot to talk about in the finale. I don't know where to begin. So much happened in the finale, but it was so amazing. If you guys have not seen the finale, watch it right now, honestly. Watch this season. It is a very convoluted season. There were a little too many characters, and also the flashbacks this season, they do a lot more of them. The worst flashbacks this season by far has to come from Alex. Her episode, I found pointless. I didn't see the point of it. I don't know why they had it. It all just told us stuff that we already know. We already know that Alex was upset when her and Piper broke up, and we already know how powerful her, like, drug thing is. We know how powerful Kubra is. We know this stuff. We don't need to see all these flashbacks of these things. It was stupid, it was dumb, and it was pretty pointless. At least there weren't any Piper flashbacks, because that would have been really just repetitive as well, and that's something I really did like, is that they didn't do any Piper flashbacks. So let's get into this finale because there's a lot to talk about. This finale, every single minute of the finale was a masterpiece. I don't care what you guys say. Even scenes with Lolly, Alex, and Piper were still well done. I love what they did with them, and every minute of this finale, it was probably the best episode I have ever seen from the show because it really got into the idea of faith. You know, all these characters getting back their faith, getting back hope, and after all of them struggling, finally getting back that faith, finally getting back that hope, and I really did love that. So let's first get into the whole thing with Pensatucky and Boo, because obviously they try to rape Coates. They didn't do anything though because it didn't work out very well, and I didn't think that was gonna work out. When they were basically gonna rape him with a broom, I knew it wasn't gonna work out because they couldn't go through with it. They just knew it was wrong, and plus it's like, oh, so it's okay to fight fire with fire? No, it's not okay to do that. So they decided to do something else, which I thought was a lot more genius. And basically, Pensatucky ends up in the car with Coates. He starts to make a pass at her. She decides to fake a seizure, crash the car into this thing, basically, and gives him some very bad injuries, but she does end up getting laid off from the prison van, but she doesn't care because she got her revenge, and I thought that was pretty awesome the way they did that, and I really love that, and I have to say that was a great scene. Pussy finds Brooke passed out in the library. She, of course, swallows the pills that she snatched from the doctor's office, and I honestly thought they were going to kill her off. I'm like, please don't kill off Brooke Sozo. She's one of the best characters on the show, and I was really hoping that they wouldn't kill her off. And basically, she goes to Tasty. They want to do whatever they can to help her out, and basically, Norma, seeing all of what's happened to Brooke, decides to just end the cult because she sees that they're all just hating on her, and that's something I love about Norma, is that she's a very kind woman. She doesn't want any hate. She doesn't want anyone to feel like they should be hated, and I thought that was an incredible scene. I really love that, and basically, Leanne and all of them, they end the cult, and she realizes how fucked up it is, and basically, they ended, and I thought that was a very big scene. I love what happened there. One of my favorite scenes, though, by far, has to be when Brooke finally tells Healy, you know what, all you're doing is making me feel like shit. You haven't done anything to help me, and I hate you. Like, she tells him that, you haven't done anything to help me, and, he even asks Red how she feels about Brooke's statement, and Red says that while he may not be technically be good at his job, he has certainly helped her, and for that, she is grateful to have him, which I feel is a load of shit, honestly. He has not helped her one bit, okay? He helped her go on pills. He didn't give her the right counselor. He didn't do anything that she wanted, and he has not helped her one bit, and I only feel like Red's doing this to motivate him, and you can tell that Red and Healy are definitely getting closer, but the thing is, he's gonna probably turn his back on Red eventually, because he turns his back on everyone. He's a vile human being, and that's something I think is definitely very interesting. Dan and Cappuo, I love what they did with them in this episode, because you see how powerful his father is, and Caputo's telling him to just, you know, put up with his father, tell him off, tell him he doesn't want to be involved in this anymore, and they discuss the situation with Sophia being in solitary confinement. Danny's not happy about it. He's saying that his father is manipulative and it's not going to work out. But basically, Cappuo urges him to remember that she comes out of SHU, and they don't want her there. And Dan goes really agitated with his father during a meeting, and he just quits. He's done. And I thought that was huge that he just quit there. And basically, Cappuo, after having sex with Fig, which, yes, he does have sex with her. They are still having sex. He basically tells the other guards that he's the new director. He wants to take over. He wants to be the one that does all of this. And now they're going to take, MCC's taking over completely. It's a very sad moment for all the guards because no matter what, they supported him. And now all the guards are leaving. And it's now full MCC. And, but it's really the only thing to keep Litchfield here. The sad part of this is that Cappuo thinks he's doing a good thing, but you know that he is definitely not going to be the one in control of everything. There are going to be people constantly up his ass trying to take his job. I mean, Cappuo, the thing I love is that he does bend over backwards for Litchfield. For once, he did something for himself, and it is good that he did that, but I really feel this is going to bite him in the ass because everything for Cappuo bites him in the ass, and I don't think this is going to end well for him. So I felt really bad for him, and I think it was a good thing that he did, but it's definitely not going to end up well. All the guards just end up quitting. They're just done. So there are no guards now. They're all gone. They're going to have to get new guards next season, and definitely you can tell that there's going to be much different Litchfield next season. Gloria and Alita, meanwhile, they're basically trying. Daya's now come back from her whole thing with basically coming back from labor, and her and Alita get a lot closer. It seems like everything's gonna be okay, and she's upset that Daya did not come to speak with her first. And Daya says that she was very surprised when she waited at the hospital for, basically Pornstash's mother to take the baby, only for her to be taken by Caesar. And it seems like everything's okay. It seems like they're forgiving the former. However, Caesar is then basically busted by the DEA. Agents come barging in his apartment. They take the child, and things are gonna end up horrible for Daya and Alita. It really sucks because they were getting so close, and now it's gonna turn so bad, and it's really gonna turn badly for Daya and Alita. I have to say, it's gonna suck. Morello and Vince get married. Basically, in the moment, he's about to walk out on her, but Morello decides to get married to him. It's a very sweet moment. I hope it lasts. I like them together. It was a very sweet scene when she said those Foreigner lyrics to him, and it was like his favorite band. It was very sweet, and I hope that they stay together. I really want these two to stay together. I want Morello to be happy. I hope that she's learned from what's happened with Christopher, and I hope that she doesn't just do this because she thinks she loves him, that she just wants someone to love her. I hope it's not that. I think she genuinely does care for Vince. I hope she really does love him, and I hope things work out well for them. It seems like things are, but we'll have to see what ends up happening with that, because I really did like that storyline. Stella and Piper, meanwhile, Stella tells Piper that she is leaving, and I hope that's true, because Stella, as I said, is just in the wrong storyline. It's not working out. And she does get Piper to apologize to Flocka. She does give Flocka the job back. For whatever reason, Alex is upset about it. I don't know why, but she is. And she does realize that Flocka's mother is actually sick and what's actually going on with her, and I really did like that. And it dawns on her that Stella was the one that was the thief, and she sabotages her release by planting illegal contraband in her bunk, and basically getting Stella to be sent to solitary confinement, which I hope does happen, because Stella's just gonna cause problems for her. So finally she woke up. I'm so happy that she finally woke up, and that was awesome that she did that. Alex, however, I love what they did with her, because I hope that this just gets her killed. Honestly, I'd be fine if Alex gets killed off, because she realizes that there is a new CO who does happen to be someone from her past, and we don't know what happened, but it looks like he was about to kill her. I'm assuming that Alex is dead. I'm assuming that's what happened, that he killed her or something happened to her. I don't think we're going to see her next season. I hope she's gone. I can't stand her character anymore. They're very boring, and maybe it was Sense8. Maybe it's because of how well they developed Nomi and Amanita and Sense8. Maybe that's what it is, but Piper and Alex, I'm just done with their storyline. I hope this is over. I hope this whole storyline is over with them, and this show can do so much better than a love triangle. That's the thing. It's not that it's bad, it's just the show can do so much better than just this love triangle, and I'm happy that that whole storyline is over. That was very good. So basically now, and Black Cindy, of course, I love what happened with her as well, because Black Cindy basically realizes that she can be Jewish, and she wants to be Jewish and everything, but she has to be baptized, and the only way for that to happen is for her to be naked and be baptized. And then we get to the incredible final sequence of this episode, which is nothing short of a masterpiece. I love the way they handle this, because basically there are two men, they're fixing the fence in the prison yard, and they realize that there's this large gap in the fence, and they basically think that just for a moment they finally have time to just finally somehow be free. Even if it's not escaping the prison, obviously there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go besides this lake, and they realize that they can just get in this lake, be at peace, relax, and it was such an amazing moment, because their eyes are laying up with excitement. They're all happy. They're all in a good place. The only people that are not there are Piper, Alex, and Stella, which I'm happy about, because they didn't come to ruin the scene. But basically, Cindy gets the baptism she needs in water. It's an incredible scene. She joins the stampede of inmates running for freedom. Brooke basically joins Pussy's group, so that I thought was really sweet. I definitely really like that. Suzanne reconciles with Maureen, this girl that wrote this fan fiction, and she got really close with. And then the way the episode ended, though, you can tell that there's going to be a new Litchfield, because they're rebuilding Litchfield. A bunch of the guards quit. And then there's this huge busload of new inmates that are definitely going to try to run the show next season. You can tell that things are getting a lot different and it's going to get a lot bad, and this storyline is just beginning. You can tell. This is not the end of the MCC storyline. It's just beginning. It's just starting to develop, and I love that. I love that we realize that it is just beginning. There's more to it, and that was pretty fantastic. So overall, guys, what a fantastic ending. I love the way it ended. Just the fact that basically they're all free. It seems like they're all happy, but shit's about to come hit the fan again. Next season is going to be amazing. And again, this season wasn't bad. It really wasn't. More of a character-driven season. There was a lot more of just characters facing their enemies and characters having to face who they are and what they want to do and things like that. And if they hadn't focused as much on the Piper, Alex, Stella storyline, this would have been the best season of the entire show. Because besides that, everything they did was amazing this season. I'm being honest. Everything they did besides that storyline, I loved. Whenever it got to Piper, Alex, Stella storyline, I was like... like, it would put me to sleep. I'm being honest, guys. I hated that storyline. And I hope that's over. But, I really did love this season overall. Let me know what you guys thought of the story. And there's a lot to talk about, though, because now we know that the MCC is fully going to take over. And now all the guards have quit. And things are going to get really tough, definitely, for Litchfield next season. Because it's going to be a lot more... you can tell how hard Litchfield, MCC is on them. They're definitely more about, order and precision. They're definitely about that. Whispers is definitely going to stay open. You can tell because that's their business, so that's going to continue. Caputo, I think he thinks he's doing a good thing, but I definitely feel like there are people that are going to try to take his job. You can just tell that there are people that are probably going to take Caputo's job, and I don't see things going well for Caputo next season. I really don't. Healy and Red's going to get screwed over by Healy. I think Red thinks that she's happy with Healy, but she definitely is going to get screwed over by him. I will say I definitely love all the flashbacks in the finale, how they all dealt with faith and things like that. That's something I thought was really great. Morello and Vince, I hope that they are genuinely happy. I hope that this is a real relationship. I hope things work out well for them. Alita and Daya, things are going to get really bad between them. Daya's going to have to choose what to do with her child because now her child's in foster care. So what's she going to do now? Who knows? That's the worst thing that could have happened to Daya. It happened. Her child's now in foster care. Who knows what's going to happen, and we'll have to see what ends up happening there. Is Nicky going to return? I kind of feel like Nicky has to return eventually. I hope she does return to Litchfield at some point. So I definitely see that happening, but we'll have to see what ends up happening with that. Alex is dead, I'm assuming. I hope she's dead. I don't want Alex on the show anymore. She's annoying as hell. I can't stand her. Brooke, I think, is going to become a lot more of a powerful... I think Brooke is now going to be a lot less annoying, and everyone's going to really care more about her, and I love that storyline of Brooke. Please make her a main character next season. I love what they did with Brooke this season. And again, I liked Stella as a character. I thought she was good, but I just don't think they put her in the right storyline. If they keep her on the show and maybe do something different with her, okay, maybe I'll be okay with it, but I really hope she's not on the show anymore, because all she did was make Piper, like, the worst version of herself, and it was really annoying, and I really hated it, and I hope that's all over. But let me know what you guys saw this season overall. Also, Pensatucky and Boo, I love their friendship. I love pretty much everything they did this season beyond the whole Piper, Alex, Stella storyline. Again, this was definitely not the weakest season for the show. The weakest season for the show is still Season 1. Season 1 is just a very weak season compared to Seasons 2 and 3. Season 2 was all about, manipulative and this powerful force, but Season 3 was all about making the characters and making us deepen them more, and getting us more into them, getting us to care about them more. That's something I thought they did very well this season. Let me know what you like from this season, what you didn't like. I know there were people who hated this season. Okay, I can understand. There wasn't a lot that happened, but this was more of a transition season. I can understand why you didn't like it as much. I personally love this season beyond that whole love triangle. But let me know what you guys saw this season. I personally really did enjoy it. What's going to happen next season? I can't wait I really do want to hear your guys' predictions. I will see you guys in my next video. Finally, I finished Orange is the New Black. That means I can finally move on to more classic movie reviews and focus more on that. And I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for another classic movie review, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.